Hello, everyone. My name is Ella O'Connor, and I am here to help you learn a little bit about Purim since it's the holiday that's coming up. And I want to make sure you have something that you can think about to help you really access this time of our year. I'm going to introduce to you a six-part series about Megillas Esther. And specifically, we're actually going to focus on Esther, who she was, what we can learn from her, what is sort of the theme that comes out from the story through her character, and how we can use that to really gain something meaningful from this time. My goal is really for you to feel like you have something practical that you can apply, and also something that will drive you to really think about the holiday, about the Yontif itself, so that we don't just let it pass us by and kind of move on to the next thing on our list. So, I also want to point out that this series is part of a larger series called Women in Tanakh, where I take another really important woman from history and we explore all about who she was and her character traits and how we can relate to that character in our daily life as Jewish women. I think it's really important for us to empower ourselves because we have so much potential for greatness. And so using the women in Tanakh is a really, really great direction to go. So let's start with today, our first little part here on Esther. So a couple of points that I want to address throughout this series, just for you to start kind of planting in your brain. I want to talk about the power of inner beauty and intimacy within having more of a private connection to ourselves and to Hashem in our daily life. I think that a theme that comes from Esther and her story is really understanding what it means to do things in private and what it means to do things for ourselves rather than for other people. So we're really going to focus on the relationship that we have bein Adam la'atzmo, between me and myself, and the relationship that we have bein Adam lamakom, between us and Hashem. And I think Esther is really, really going to show us that having a hidden side can really actually be very, very powerful. So, our introduction, I'm just going to point out a few things to get us going here. We have a pasuk from Devarim which says, "Va'anochi haster astir panai bayom hahu al kol hara'a asher asa ki pana el Elohim acherim. Yet I will keep my presence hidden on that day because of all the evil they have done in turning to other gods." What are we talking about here? Let's kind of set up the context for our shir. The Talmud in Chulin actually explains that this pasuk in the Torah hints to Esther and the Purim story, although it happened many years afterwards. It kind of alludes to the hiddenness and despair that's sort of associated with Esther and how the Jewish people really turned away from Hashem at the time, and therefore they were punished with Hashem sort of turning away from them. And that's what really exile is all about. This was really inspired by the Bnei Israel's choice to turn away from Hashem by going to the 7-day feast of Achashverosh. They chose to engage in kind of turning to Achashverosh as their leader, and they put themselves into his hands. And so Hashem sort of said back to us, well, I'm going to hide my presence from you. This also connects to explain the whole theme of Purim, and which is finding Hashem when he is hidden and does not rule over us in a very revealed way. There's actually, as we know in the story, which we've heard before, that there's no mention of Hashem's name in the entire Megillah. So the story really shows that Hashem is there, and when you look at everything that happens within the sequence of events, you can really tell that he's running the show, but it's not in a revealed way. And it's for this exact reason of us turning away from him, which is why it happened. The whole idea of Hashem ruling the world is not something we're going to focus on, but it's important to know. So now we come to our question, which is really, really going to help us understand what we're trying to gain here. As far as Esther within the story, we want to try to understand who is Esther really? Why is she such an important character in the story? What qualities can we see in her that we should try to adopt? Because something that I think is very important to realize is that when we look at people in Tanakh, in history, avos, imahos, anybody, and we sort of tend to think, this happened in the past. They were great tzaddikim, they were righteous people. And so it's hard to kind of get down to our level and relate to who they were and figure out what to do with that. So the idea that we're going to see here is that Esther was a human being. She was a real person who felt very real things and went through a very difficult experience in the role that she played in our history. And the way to start learning from these people is to understand that they were human beings just like us. We have the ability to reach where they were and reach and go forward in our lives. So that's what we're really trying to figure out, is who was Esther and how can we learn from her to apply to us Jewish women today in our time leading up to Purim, which is a really, really beautiful holiday. So that sort of sums up the very first part of our series, and I'm excited to share more with you next time. Thank you.